Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm reviewing Furiosa, directed by George Miller, and it is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. And it is about a little girl named Furiosa who gets taken from her village by a group of evil bikers that are led by Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. And we see Furiosa go through some pretty bad stuff after being taken from her family and has to see like so much bad stuff that's in the wasteland. And when she grows up, we later see her become the Furiosa we know from Fury Road. I wouldn't say I'm a huge Mad Max fan, I'm more of a casual fan. I do enjoy the films. I like the first film, I really like the second film. The third film, not so much. And I of course have seen Mad Max Fury Road, and for me, that is my favorite Mad Max film in the franchise. That film had so much stuff to love from this franchise, like the action sequences, the chases, the practical effects, the makeup, the color palette. The score is still awesome to listen to, and I do like Tom Hardy as Max. But for me, the standout character in that film was Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. She was fantastic as the character, and most of that film felt like it was more about her, while Max was just in the middle of it. And now we have a prequel that's just centered around her and her backstory, and you have George Miller once again directing the film, just like he did the rest of the films. And this movie had a lot of potential to be great, and now that I've seen this film, I will say this is a really good movie. I had a fun time with it, but I don't think it's a perfect movie, and I don't think it's quite as good as Fury Road. It does have some issues, which I'll talk about those later. I still enjoyed this film quite a bit, and there is a lot to like in this film. What I really liked about the film is that it takes its time for the world building around the Furiosa character, and it gives you time to get to see Furiosa go through all of this terrible stuff that she unfortunately has to deal with when she's in the wasteland, because the wasteland in the Mad Max films, after the apocalypse they mentioned in the previous films, it's not a fun place to be. And you get to feel bad for Furiosa for all the stuff that she goes through, because the stuff that she goes through throughout the film is pretty messed up. We see her learn more about Dementus and how terrible he is with his crew, and we see her learn more how to survive on her own without anyone around to help her. And when she gets older and learns more about the world that she's in, she starts to get ready for her journey towards revenge against Dementus and his horde of bikers. And Anya Taylor Joy is really good as Furiosa, and she doesn't speak a lot. She's a very quiet person when she's around these people, where most of the film she just uses her reactions on her face to get us to understand what she's saying, and she does a really good job doing that. And when she does start speaking, she is incredible as Furiosa. And to be honest, I think her performance as Furiosa is on par with Charlize Theron's Furiosa. I think they're both fantastic as a character, and Anya Taylor-Joy had big shoes to fill, and I thought she did a really good job. I even like Chris Hemsworth as the villain of the film. I thought he was really good as a character, and he was a good villain for Furiosa to realize how bad he can actually be. He's very menacing, intimidating, and he does a really good job as the character. The action sequences are still as crazy and as insane as they were in Fury Road. They keep your attention, they keep you focused on what's going on, and they do not disappoint. That is easily one of the best parts of this film, and for most of the Mad Max films, the action and the chase sequences are all fantastic. Like one scene involving a bunch of parachutes, as well as another scene involving a big gate and some lava. The action in this film is definitely worth watching. The score here is still really good and does something a little interesting. It's not as bombastic or super loud like it was in Fury Road. Most of the time it's very subtle and a little sinister at times. Even when some of the action is happening, it still helps elevate more of how intense the action action can be. The sound mixing is also really good. It definitely makes you feel like you're witnessing all of these events happening on screen. And I'm not talking about like the kind where you're like, witness me, and then you just spray paint your mouth with chrome face paint. Not that kind of witness. The cinematography is great as well. It lets you see everything that's happening on screen. You see all the action that's happening and gets visual imagery as well. Like, there are some visual imagery that's still burnt into my brain and it's gonna be stuck in there for a long time. And that's something we expect to see in a Mad Max film. Have action sequences and chases where you see everything that's happening that is super intense and it never slows down for you, no pun intended. And George Miller once again excels at that. He lets you see all of that. When he directs a Mad Max film, you already know that this film is gonna be great. This is not a perfect movie. I do have some issues with it, and one of them is that this movie is 2 hours and 21 minutes, and you can really feel the runtime. Like, the first hour of the film is just Furiosa learning more about the wasteland and how to survive through it. While a lot of that is interesting, but it can take a lot of its time, and sometimes it can drag the pacing just a little bit. Now, despite the fact that I like that this film takes a lot of time to get us to know more about Furiosa as a little girl, it does, however, have some scenes that drag and take up way too much time. So I think for me, like, that part should have been at least like 40 or 45 minutes. It's a little close to an hour, but it doesn't like take the whole like first half of the film. And despite the fact that they filmed a lot of real locations in this film, they do, however, use a lot of green screen in some scenes and some CGI as well, which is kind of strange because Fury Road has barely any of the CGI or green screen. Most of that is in real locations. Yes, there were some parts in Fury Road that had some CGI, like the sandstorm, but most of that film was very practical. It felt very real, where they used real stuff and real vehicles and real locations. And yes, they do still use some real locations and real vehicles, but I just couldn't help but notice that they also use a lot of CGI and green screen for some scenes in the film. It was really that noticeable. Now, Furiosa is not quite as good as Fury Road. There were some green screen and CGI moments that were really noticeable, and there were some parts of the runtime that I think could have been trimmed, but it still has great action sequences, great chases, great cinematography, a great score, great mixing, a great performance from Anya Taylor Joy, and a great performance from Chris Hemsworth. I do recommend watching Furiosa if you haven't yet, especially if you're a Mad Max fan. I even recommend it to people who only watched Mad Max Fury Road for this film, because I know there are a lot of people out there that love Fury Road but haven't seen like all of the Mad Max films. I'm gonna give Furiosa an A-. So guys, if you have seen Furiosa, what did you think about it? Did you think it's as good as Fury Road, or do you think this movie was boring and dull and you weren't interested in the character? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow and it makes me go, oh, what a day! What a lovely day! Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.